No group has rights because rights, and hear me out now before you close the video or make your appeal to ridicule, do not exist. And I really wish that this is something libertarians and conservatives would understand.
Alright, this isn't something I usually talk about, but let's go over how you can prove rights exist. We start with the axiom of the ancient principle of original appropriation. Ownership of scarce resources, the right of an exclusive control over scarce resources, is acquired through the act of original appropriation, by which resources are taken out of a state of nature and put into the state of civilization. If this were not so, no one could ever begin to act, or propose to do anything. Hence, any other principle is praxeologically impossible, and argumentatively indefensible. From the principle of original appropriation, the first use, first own principle, rules concerning the transformation and the transfer or exchange of originally appropriated resources are derived, and all of ethics, including the principles of punishment, is then reconstructed in terms of a theory of property rights. All human rights are property rights, and all human rights violations are property right violations. If, contrary to the principle of first or original appropriation, a person, A, were not considered the owner of his visibly appropriated body and the standing room and places originally appropriated through him by means of his body, then only two alternative arrangements exist. Either another later coming person, B, must be recognized as the owner of A's body and the places originally appropriated by A, or both A and B must be considered equal co-owners of all bodies and places. There is a third conceivable alternative that no one should own any body and originally appropriated place. This can be ruled out as an impossibility. Acting requires a body and standing room, and we cannot not act. Hence, to adopt this third alternative would imply the instant death of all mankind. In the first case, A would be reduced to the rank of B's slave and subject of exploitation. B is the owner of the body and places originally appropriated by A, but A in turn is not the owner of the body and places so appropriated by B. Under this ruling, two categorically distinct classes of persons are constituted: slaves such as A and masters such as B, to whom different laws apply. Hence, while such a ruling is certainly possible, it must be discarded from the offset as a human ethic, since it is not equally and universally applicable to everyone who is a human being. For a rule to aspire to the rank of a law, it is necessary that it apply equally and universally to everyone. The rule under consideration manifestly does not fulfill this universalization requirement. Alternatively, in the second case of universal and equal co-ownership, the universalization requirement is apparently fulfilled. However, this alternative suffers from another, even more severe deficiency, because if it were adopted, all of mankind would perish immediately. For every action of a person requires the use of scarce means, at the very least his body and its standing room. However, if all goods were co-owned by everyone, then no one at any time or place would be allowed to do anything unless he had previously secured everyone else's consent to do so. Yet, how could anyone grant such consent if he were not the exclusive owner of his own body, including his vocal cords, by means of which this consent would be expressed? That brings us back to the first alternative. It fulfills the universalization requirement and is praxeologically possible. And this first alternative is in fact the libertarian theory of self-ownership. And that would be the proof that human beings logically must have rights. This is from Hans-Herman Hoppe's Democracy, the God That Failed, The Economics and Politics of Monarchy, Democracy, and Natural Order.